starting with Jimmy, Ben, and then Grant.
Coach, how would you grade your team's shot selection so far?
Well, you know what? When you throw in the fact that we turn down shots and shot selection, I'd probably say 75. I'd probably rate it at 75 because we want guys to shoot the ball when they're open. That's what we've done all year practicing. And when guys, put it back in their holster and they're not willing to shoot it, that normally leads to something not quite as good. And we showed them that obviously where we turn down really good shots that make a little bit more difficult shots. So we just want our guys to, I say it all the time to them, do what we practice and let's see what works. But, obviously in the open court, you got to make those layups when you're struggling to make some shots, whether it's from the perimeter or around the rim, because those shots are tougher than people might think. But overall, if you ask me to put a number on it, 75, 80% probably.
Rick, what'd you think of Ole Miss shooting 50% from three the other night when you went back and watched? And what are y'all's rules on kind of help defense when it comes to the 3-point line? Does that change game to game based on personnel?
It changed during the game. I mean, we're a very heavy help team, as you know. We like to try to make plays in the gaps, but the other night was the first time all year that we faced someone that got hot. That really, I mean, look at his percentages coming in. We obviously going to play percentages throughout our scouting report, but he got hot, and no one's done that this year up to this point, which was a great thing for us. We learned from it. We talked about how do we do that. Then we talked about what do you do when a team has two guys. You had Matt Morrell hitting a couple where normally we're heavy help line. When you got a guy that is capable of raising up and popping it, you got to now shade back a little bit. But once we adjust, during the game, once we said, okay, now we're going to adjust what we need to do here because you got a guy that's really feeling it. We did a really terrific job with it coming down the stretch. But it all throughout the entire game with our defensive packages, we've got a lot of things that we can adjust to. But like I said, that was the first time all year that we've played somebody that just really, you could tell that basket looked like the Atlantic Ocean had opened up for him.
Rick Fulke checked out, I think, with 3.5 minutes left the other night and didn't play from there, didn't play in overtime. What do you have to see from him for him to get back on?
Energy and effort, energy and effort. And again, he needs to understand that he's in a league now where coaches have seen him for a long time. He's going to really have to adapt what we've been telling him, honestly, for a long time. When he can get the ball in space and work, he's really, I think it creates a problem. I would personally, if we're playing against him, let him get down there and get his back to the basket against guys that weigh 30, 40 pounds more. But we've told him that. But the other night, it was strictly based on energy and effort and being productive.
Ryan and then Karthik.
I've now had a handful of games this year where your offense has really struggled. When you go back and watch the tape in those games, is it the same things that kind of stand out that y'all struggle with in those games?
It is. It all gets back to lack of execution from the start. And then you start almost like you're piling it on top of you to where you're making yourself, not only you're playing against your opponent, you're playing against yourself. And it always gets back to the details, taking care of the details where we should know where our shots are coming from. We should know what we need to do to get in position to get those shots so we can be in a position to go rebound it. But if you go back, it's just being inconsistent with the details throughout the game. But it shouldn't ever be like that way at the start. The way we started that game with the 3 turnovers we had, no way should that happen at this point in time, this time of year. And so you ask the question, where are we? Because we're definitely locked in defensively. We've got to have that same attitude on offense but it's different. You can script some things really, in terms of when you play against your opponent. The offensive side is totally different. You got to react to them. Like the other night, changing defenses. But if you go back to it, they made it. They really made it. They had I think a pretty simple game plan. It wasn't they're changing defenses. It was you're going to have to get somebody inside to go at us because we're not going to help down there that much. And see what can happen. They pretty much stay with our shooters. But with all that said and done, if we'd have moved the ball like we should, we'd have got even better looks. And we had some looks. I mean, they could have been the kind of looks that we want inside out.
Hey, Coach, LSU is really good defensive efficiency. I think Ken Palm, #1, scoring defense, really good too. I'm sure there's a lot of urgency to, get the offense right from the beginning and maintain that through the game. But, with such a tough defensive opponent, what do you guys need to get going?
Well, they switch almost all 1 through 5. They're willing to do that. They, they're very aggressive in terms of attacking the ball. They really go at it like that. Some, they do have their pressure. They use, their full court pressure to want it. They can turn it around and match it any way they like to do it. But the key in any game when you're playing against a really, outstanding defensive team, you got to take care of the basketball. You got to get attempts. You've got to hope you can get yourself to the foul line. You've got to, again, make them work and not let them have it, knowing that they're going to be very aggressive in terms of trying to, come get the ball. They're always swiping at it, digging at it, trying to break it away. So you've got to be strong with the ball.
Rob, then back to Jimmy and Grant.
Coach, just Zakai, how impressed are you with what he's done? Two conference games so far. A kid that got here late in the summer, and just doesn't. He seems fearless.
He is fearless. He is in, it's in his DNA. Because if I could coach that, believe me, that'd be the first thing I would coach every player I ever coached. I mean, that's in his DNA, and we knew he was a good player when we were able to get involved with him. But some of the things you don't know is just that. I mean, you used the word fearless, and that's a great word to use because he's going to go at it. He's got a short memory. He's extremely competitive, extremely, and he's hard on himself, when he still has to, where he's going to improve in so many different areas because he's a smart player, but his energy, his effort in terms of what he brings is, our guys have tremendous faith in him.
Rick, two things. Do you think that this team has the potential to be your best defensive team at Tennessee?
I think we have a chance to be the best in a lot of areas, and we just got to get everybody in the boat at the same time. And because we've got a very unselfish group of players. They like each other. They pull for each other, but it goes back to improvement. Can we still get better defensively? We can. We're going to have to, again, continue to rebound the ball at a higher clip on both ends. That's really important because the offensive end rebounding helps you with your defense. It helps you, start of your transition defense. So there's a lot of ways we can get better, and so we'll work to that. But up to this point, these guys have, again, we're not perfect, but they're trying to do what we ask them to do. Again, it goes back, not everybody quite understands everything the way they need to at the level they need to. And honestly, that's most of the time during games when probably more substitutions occur from the defensive end than the offensive end. And we just need everyone, again, because we always talk about every possession matters, and we don't just say it, we believe it.
And also about LSU, other than its defense, what impresses you about LSU?
Well, again, I think they, you look at them, they rebound, they run, they'll try to, they get the opportunity. They're going to shoot it. They're going to, again, I think they play unselfish together. I do. I think that Will's got a team that I think he really likes because of the effort they're giving him on both ends.
Rick, with Jemai, how much has being on the scout team helped him? And when he is on the floor, when he is getting early minutes, what exactly are you guys trying to get out?
It's helped him a lot, Grant, just in the fact that it's teaching him that there's a lot more to the game than just playing, and having to learn multiple sets in a quick turnaround. I mean, that when we go out with our scout team, they come in, they've got to learn a lot of stuff quick. And I think anytime you can do that, I think it's continuing to help Quentin as well. And I think it's going to help Jonas in the long run. But And then when he goes out and goes into the game, we expect him to bring the energy that we know he's capable of. He's a guy that can block out, rebound, and he can score the ball. And but he's got to get settled in there on the offensive end. But defensively, he did a great job the other night when we were down. We were floundering right there, and we put him in the game. Said, you've got to change the rhythm of this game with your offensive rebound. And he went and got 3 of them real quick.
David Pascal.
Rick, when you look at the 2 overtime games this year with Texas Tech and Ole Miss the other night, how similar were those games? I mean, obviously you struggled to shoot in both of them, but what can you take from those 2 games after looking at the film and, moving on and trying to avoid such a game, or do bad shooting nights just happen?
Well, they happen with everybody. I mean, you look around, you look even at the highest level. I remember one year Mike D'Antoni was with Houston. They went 0 for 28, 0 for 29, something like that. They said he walked in the locker room and said, hey, guys, tomorrow they'll go in. And I think you're in coach. When you're in coach, you can't coach making shots. You can't. What you can coach is trying to get guys to take rhythm shots and shots they practice. But the takeaway from it is what we've told our guys from day one. If we play defense at the level we're capable of, and if we will rebound, you'll always have a chance, even when you can't make a shot. Can it happen? Yeah, it happens somewhere every year with everybody. I mean, there's nights when something you just can't make it, but you find a way to work through it. And the difference in those 2 games, no question, was the reaction of our players. If you could look into the eyes of Santi and Zakai and Olivier, I mentioned it after the game. What he was able to do, the way he was talking in the huddle, and Josiah, those guys had that look like we're not going to lose this game. So we're going to find a way, some way. We don't know what it might not be the prettiest way to do it, but that was probably the difference, because in the game against Tech, you just felt like, we're just struggling. Who's going to make a play? Who's going to do it? Somebody's going to have to make a play. But if you think back to that play, Santi's play at half court was a huge play when he hit the 3. I mean, there were so many things there, but it was the defense too on the other end where we were able to shut down some guys that were making big threes at the time for them. And, it goes back, we knew they were going to be in long possessions. And I really maybe felt at times at the end, and I mentioned to the coaches, those, because when you're playing against a team that's going to put you 30 seconds into the clock every time, that's, when you're down 6 points, that's like 12 because of that. And so sometimes I told our staff that, hey, maybe Kermit was happy with those shot clock violations, even though he wasn't, but at least they, took 2 minutes off the game, because I think we had 4 of them. And but that's where, the different rhythm and you're going to play against that. That's what the postseason plays about. You've got to be able to play against different teams, different styles. But for the most part, our guys, I thought, stayed locked in defensively the other night.
And we'll finish up with Ryan Shumpert.
LSU's gone from last year being an elite offensive team with an average defense to an elite defensive team with an average offense. How rare is that from one year to another? And then just from watching film, what do you see as the biggest reasons for that switch?
Well, if you get right down to it, I mean, the other night you had 2 freshman guards on the court. It's going through something he's never gone through before. They're seeing things that he's never seen before at a very high level. You've got Olivier, who is for the first time in his life in a role that he's never been in. And the way he responded the other night, like I said the other night, I hope this is a big step for him, because he was totally locked in and on both ends of the court. And, Josiah's been there steady. Santi's been there. They're steady, but 3 of the 5 guys on the floor at the end of the game, totally new experience for him. And it's going to be a year where, again, the 2 point guards, the freshman point guards, every day is a learning experience for them. Every game's a learning experience for them. What we need, again, we need guys coming off the bench who we know that are capable of making shots and playing the defense we want. It goes back to being reliable and guys just not just hold on to the rope, but keep climbing up the rope and knowing that, hey, we got a long way to go. And I believe that there's everybody on our bench at some point in time this year has the ability to come in and help us win games.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you, guys.